Rush Limbaugh has some thoughts here for us on Hillary Clinton and feminism. I want to listen to it, and then we'll discuss.
Here is a little bite from my TV show back in 1994, and I fully expect, until you stop and think about it and hear me explain this, I fully expect this little soundbite to really anger a certain segment of the female population.
The Hillary Clinton story basically is this. And see how similar this sounds to the old days before the modern era of feminism raised its head. You're a girl, you're a young woman, what do? You go off to college. That's what she did. Why do you go? To meet your husband. That's what she did. She wouldn't be where she is if it weren't for her husband. So she goes to college, finds some guy that she thinks is going somewhere, latches onto him. Maybe she steers his career, as some women are prone to do. Maybe she followed, who knows? But the point is that when he got wherever he was going, that's when she moves in to take over.
And I think that's exactly what happened. Now, back in 1971, when they met, back 1965, 1970, that's, you may not like hearing this, but in much of America, that's why women went to college. It was just the formula. That's where you went to meet your husband and get that phase of your life started. That period of time, by the way, coincides with the very beginnings of the modern era of feminism, which I traced to 1969, because that's when I first began to experience it. And I was a senior in high school then. And so we had the beginnings of feminism starting to where all of that got blown up. The whole point of going to college became not to find a husband. Screw that. Feminism became, you don't want anything about a man to be defining, and you don't want your relationship to define. You don't want a relationship to be your happiness. You certainly don't want marriage to be the sole determining reason you live. You don't want a relationship to be your happiness, marriage, any of that. You want to go everywhere. You want to have it all. You want to be a corporate success. You want to be an entrepreneurial success. That's the beginnings of the feminist movement, which sought to emulate men. I thought that was its mistake from the get-go. And rather than carving its own, but anyway, so I'm no doubt people are livid when they hear me say 1970, you went to school and find your husband. That's what you did. And you can't deny it. That's what she did.
Okay, so first of all, I don't really think that's true about Hillary Clinton. If you read the specifics of her younger years, she seemed like she was really driven from the beginning. It just so happened that they were a power couple and they were both really driven, but she was an overachiever. By the way, in many ways, I don't agree with her philosophy. At one point, she was a Goldwater girl. She was a Republican. So I don't like that. But there's no denying that she was driven from the beginning. He is denying that. He's saying, no, the only reason she went to college was to try to get a husband. And then Rush goes on to say, well, that was the point of college back then. That was the formula. Which, by the way, to an extent is true. The further you go back, the more you have kind of a defined gender roles society, where if you deviate from that, oh, you're a bad person or you're screwing things up. Well, that's the main point of doing this segment, is as I listen to that, I hear Rush talk about that, and he frames it as if, weren't those the good old days? I mean, it was the good old days when women just went to college to try to get a husband, and that's that. And God forbid they try to define their lives through their relationship, and that's the main reason why they live. Like, now people hate that, but I mean, weren't those the days? That's what the implication is to me. That's what I hear. I don't know. Maybe some of you disagree. You can listen to it over again. I don't think it's a crazy interpretation on my part. But the thing that fucking gets under my skin is, okay, guys, it doesn't have to be either or. So today, it actually is true that today you have like third wave feminism, for example, which does kind of say any traditional feminine role is bad, and, women should basically almost act like and be like men in every respect. And if you don't do that, you're fucked up. And, let's say that things like video game characters are misogynistic and symbol of the patriarchy. That's bullshit. That's not true. That's silly. And you had the other extreme, which is what Rush is arguing for here, which is, no, that your role is to be my wife, and that's the end of your duties, and that's why women went to college, to get a man. That was great. That was awesome. No, why can't it be freedom? Why can't it be liberty? Why can't women have the choice, have the option. You want to have a career? By all means. You want to do this? By all means. You want to do that? By all means. You want to be a housewife? Fine, I'm not going to shame you. That's your choice. Do whatever the fuck you want to do. That's great if you so choose that path. You want to, have a corporate career? By all means, be my guest. That's your choice. I believe in freedom. I believe in actual equality and your ability to choose what you want to do. But that's not the sense I get from the extremes. Rush Limbaugh seems like an old school misogynistic type dude who just says, your job is to be the wife, and that's why you went to college. Meh. That's his argument. Whereas the third wave feminists say, no, your job is you have to go out there in the world and do X, Y, and Z and prove your worth and do that and be more like a man. And then also be angry about all the fucking video game characters that are so sexist. So those are the extremes. I think all reasonable people fall, on the position that let them do what they want to do.